Hello and welcome, Kristen, to the Goal List. I'm so excited to have you. Today, we're talking about paragliding. It's so exciting.
Yeah.
So, what made you decide to go paragliding?
Yeah. So when my husband and I travel, we love doing any kind of adventure thing. He's a lot more adventurous than I am, and he's sort of like opened me up to be better and do things that take risks.
Mhm.
Uh, and paragliding became on my list a while ago once I realized we can get into my fear of heights. But I felt comfortable that I would enjoy paragliding. And so I was planning this big trip in Central Europe that was basically all around getting to see Taylor Swift in Poland. And so we were stopping in Slovakia. And I was like, well, let's see if we can do paragliding in Slovakia.
That's so cool. It wasn't just going paragliding, it's paragliding in a new place.
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime we like try, whenever we travel, I try and find like a one sort of like very adventure thing that we can do. And just, yeah, have a fun adventure that, you wouldn't normally like carve out time to do.
Yeah. How did you find, how did paragliding become the thing that you did? Did you, search for things to do in Slovakia or?
I think it was like searching for things to do. There's like a big mountain range there that we knew we wanted to sort of go through. And so it was like, what do we want to do in the mountains? And what would be different than something we haven't done. Honestly, I think I was in like this networking group, a call, and it was like one of those, two truths and a lie.
Mm.
And so I did my lie of that, like I paraglided it in some country, and the other ones were like other adventure things that I'd done. And so then I'm like, well, I guess I have to like make it come true now. So
Yeah.
it kind of like got in my head. And we had been talking about it, but it wasn't like this big thing that like must check off. Um, but I then started like Googling, is there paragliding in Slovakia? Like, is there someone we could find? And turns out it was a thing.
Oh, it's so cool. I love that you came up with that from the true truths in a lie, and you really know how to do it. That's so cool. What was the experience like?
It was kind of crazy. I find that when you travel and you wanna do some adventure thing, finding sort of like the one-off person, not like a big company, but like someone who just loves doing adventure stuff and has like created a company doing it where he's just, the main person taking people out and doing it is like the best way
Mm.
because you really get a good local experience. And that is exactly what this was. But you're putting a lot of faith in a process that isn't formalized at all, right? Like, I found him on Instagram, DM'd him, found a website, emailed, emailed again, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, like let me know like 3 days before you guys are here and we'll see how the weather is." And like I'm a planner. So for me, I'm like, "Okay, but can we like make sure that I'm penciled in?" So like if like I get the weather, but like if it's okay, if the weather's nice that like I'm in line, I don't want to just like wait the 3 days and
Yeah.
uh, so then we're like, we're in, Hungary, trying to, like, WhatsApp him because we're coming in 3 days, like, and he's like, "Well, I think the weather's gonna be okay," or I think we ended up switching the days. It wasn't, like, our ideal day because of the weather, but it worked out fine. But I think it was just so there's the whole, like, leading up, like, is this gonna happen? Is this smart? Like, what all of the stuff of, like, just the logistics leading up to it. There's no waivers. It's because again, it's not a big country or a big well, it's not a big country, but it's not a big company. There's no waiver we've signed. Like, there's no we're just Venmoing the guy the money, that type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow, that's a lot of trust to put into it.
Yeah, exactly. But it made it fun and it was once we met, we were like mostly our concerns were fine, but essentially, we were staying at this really great resort in the mountains and drove to meet him. He, like, gave us the coordinates of just a parking lot to meet him at. And we load into his car. We drive to the smallest little village. I mean, like, super small village, to a church parking lot where we meet up with other people who are coming. And basically, it's a good day to paraglide. And so everyone in the area who was paragliding, like, loads into this guy's car. We're in the back. And they're all speaking Slovakian, and we're just, like, I mean, they spoke broken English, but and our main guy spoke very well English very well. But we're just like, we're along for the ride. We don't really know what's happening. And we get in this big Jeep and we're in the back and we just drive up the mountain for about 30 minutes. And that was honestly the scariest part because
Really?
very tight roads, very steep. It just to me like I know we were safe, but like it just felt like the car could like roll back and like tumble down and we're like in the back and there's like these six big guys sitting in the front and um the road's very bumpy. They had to like get out to clear limbs down and this is just it's a fire road that we're driving up to like get to the top because right you need to be at the top of the mountain to like take off running. So the whole time I was just like I that was the scariest because I was just like we're just along for the ride. We don't know what's happening. No one knows. Now we're like, no, like who knows what could happen. But then we finally get up and it's the most beautiful day. You can see the whole countryside and it's very much like European farms where you have like all the square like that you see in like it's just like it's so pretty. And yeah, then we get strapped on and we can walk through all that. But the leading up to it was pretty nerve-wracking.
It sounds like it. I'm wondering, like, that process of feeling safe with them and building that trust. How was that? Like you said, you found him on Instagram. How did you find him on Instagram? So what did you search?
I think I was searching just like adventure Slovakia.
Yeah.
Just sort of looking for different reels or different like things to do. And it is one of those situations where I think there is like this type of people who are very into adventure sports and active and outdoorsy, and they are just sort of more laid back. But when it's like really local, that they like trust the area. Although you are riding tandem with them, like I wasn't going solo, right? So like, they're also putting their faith in me. And so there's that piece that like nothing really is going to happen because then something would happen to them. But it is, yeah. I mean, I think there's just, that lifestyle of we live and die by the weather. We plan things last minute. Like you just have to understand that is the way it is going into it.
Yeah. Yeah, paragliding is on my list. I've never been. What do you do when you paraglide? Because you're saying running off I never thought about what you're actually doing besides being in the air part.
Right. So one of the reasons I knew I thought I would enjoy it is because I love zip lining.
Okay.
So in good zip lines, you can kind of like run. You're not just like standing on the edge and they push you off and you go zip lining, right? You kind of like run and then you like fly and you're just like, that you're harnessed in. What I can't do is like climb up a ladder or be on the edge of a mountain without freaking out. But something about like the flying aspect of it, like I enjoy. It's when I'm on like steady ground or not steady ground, but I like freak out in terms of height. I don't know. It doesn't really seem that. But there is still that like, okay, you're just gonna run and take off, and I don't know. You still don't know. Like I still don't know. Like going into it, I'm like, I hope I enjoy it, but I have no idea if I will enjoy it. But basically, you strap in, so you harness up, and I'm in, this big. It's almost like a seat that my harness like turns into a seat, and then connected to the guy behind me who has, they spent all the time sort of like laying out the parachute, I guess, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Laying all that out and getting us all hooked up, and then he hooks into me. There's enough people there checking, and I'll tell you about my my partner, my tandem partner in a bit because it's a fun story. But he's a priest, and he's like, "We're good," and I'm like, "Okay." But
that's reassuring.
Yes, basically, you're at the top of the mountain, and it was a grassy like hilltop to run off, and he's just like, you just keep running, like do not stop running as fast as you can until like you literally are just like running in the air. He's like, yeah, if people like slow down or they're because you kind of like he's running, you're running, you feel like you're about to trip, but then within a few seconds you're like in the air. But they'd make this big deal of like, just keep running. We're like, okay. So then like you're like in the air running, but eventually the wind catches and it takes off. Then I sort of like am able to like sit in the seat that's like attached to him. So I'm seated, my legs are a little bit up. And then he has the controls and he's just sort of like flying us. And
Oh, wow.
oh, yeah. They say that like, early on, like when it's your first time, like you're going up and down, you don't really notice it, but that you can get really queasy and your stomach can get upset. And there's a lot of stuff of like, if you start, like the second you start feeling bad, because it will take a minute to get down, like let us know. So I was worried that, I was going to get like seasick or whatever, that my husband,
And why?
it's like car sick and stuff.
Yeah.
I felt great the whole time. He did want me to, like, steer some, and I was nervous about letting go. I didn't wanna let go of anything, and so I did for a little bit, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm fine. I just wanna, like, hold on." But I could, like if I could, like once I was able to, like, relax and just, like, enjoy the view, I mean, we were so high up, and I kept going higher. Him and I had good, like, weight distribution. My husband, unfortunately, like, he did not. They were both a little bigger, and he lasted about, like, 10 to 15 minutes before they went down, or just couldn't keep the air up, whereas we kept going.
Oh, I see.
And it was just so cool.
Oh, wow. How long is that process?
And we were for
Or
about 25, 30 minutes. So, like, they went back after we all landed in our fields and found each other again, like, our guy, like, took it back to our car, but, like, that group went back up again, and they would stay out for, like, a couple hours on their own.
oh,
You have to, know how to catch the wind and to, like, keep going. It would feel, like, really weird because you could tell when, like, you make this turn and then all of a sudden you're going really high and, um but yeah, it was very cool, and we were flying sort of around this, like, really, really tiny village in the middle of nowhere, over trees and over valleys and farms, and it's just really pretty.
oh, wow. What is the experience of being in the air like? Like, what did that feel like once you got up there?
Yeah, it's weird because I wouldn't say, like, "Oh, I felt like I was flying." I was so, like, amazed by, like, the view and the sensation of, like, sort of that up and down feel. It was a little colder up there, but it, like, wasn't that bad. Like, it just the conditions felt really cool. But, yeah, you just kinda feel like you're a bird just, like, watching, everything from above, and it was just, like it's just very neat. I don't really know how to explain it, yeah.
It sounds really neat. I'm still surprised that I didn't know that you could stay up there for so long. I thought it was like a, "Okay, you're coming down," type of
The
thing.
fact that these guys would stay up there for, like, hours is kind of impressive. Because you don't wanna go down. I think, like, they just immediately well, one, my husband went down pretty early, but, because they just kept saying that you might get sick and, like, let us know if you throw up or, like, whatever, and so I think, and eventually for first timers, they just, like, make sure it ends so that it doesn't get too bad, you know?
Yeah, I see. That makes sense.
So what's funny is, like, you just then land somewhere, right? It's not like, skydiving where like, you are supposed to land, like, in this one field. So so Ryan, my husband, because they went down much sooner, it took them about 45 minutes to walk from one field to, like, where we were. And
Oh, wow.
then we managed to get into the field next to the car, which was great.
Yeah.
You just sort of are like, where you go down, and then hope that, like, your cell service works and someone can come pick you up or something.
Oh, wow. That really is a lifestyle of
Yeah,
go with the flow.
exactly, and, and on the way back, they're like, "Oh, drink from this well. Here's some water to fill up," it's just like small town Slovakia, but, so my tandem partner, my guide, they kept saying he doesn't really speak English, but he's a Roman Catholic priest, and so he'll be safe. So we get down, and he's open enough, certainly, like, to make me feel okay about going on. But there was a big joke that, like, he's like, I'm not dying today, so you're fine," type thing. But we get into this middle of the field, and I start helping him with rolling up the parachute, and he was surprised by that. I guess maybe some people just would stand there, but I'm like, let me help you. And then he starts talking and asking me all about, the election and immigration and, all of this stuff, and just, like, telling me about, the Ukrainian gypsies that now go to his church in Slovakia, and I'm just like, "They said you didn't speak English at all," and here we are, like, having, like, this really, like, one of the best conversations I had that whole trip with, like, not my husband, and it was really funny, but he was like, just like the nicest guy, so excited that I had like the best time. I mean, it was just a really cool experience.
So was this were these conversations happening while you were in the air or just while you were preparing?
In the air, sure, you don't want to fly, like, direct and drive it. I'm like, no, 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 waiting out, or we're going to go up. Do you want to go higher? That type of stuff. It wasn't until we hit the ground and we had time to like roll step up and like walk back. Then we had, because then we were about like, we were waiting on my husband. So it was about 45 minutes of the two of us, just chatting, and it was great. That again, you don't get if you go with like a big company. You sign up for something with 10 other people that are tourists, so then you're just hanging out with the other tourist groups to like go on this hike or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So you had more of that local feel, maybe connect with somebody, maybe learn some new things about the area. That's really cool.
Yeah, so I highly recommend it. I think for me, it is just like any new place. So we're like planning a trip to Scotland, and it's like, okay, well, what can we do in Scotland that's different that like we wouldn't do somewhere else? That we are taking the time to like carve out to have some fun adventure that we'll have like stories from and whatnot.
I love that. That's such a fun way to travel. Like, what adventurous thing can we do there? And maybe even thinking about what's different that you can't do anywhere else as well.
Exactly. I saw a meme today that was like, I married a traveler, not a vacationer. So instead of like, laying at the sauna in Norway, we're like waking up at, 5 a.m. in the freezing cold to like go look for this bird. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a traveler. Like,
Yeah, yeah. There's a time for both for like the relaxing, but I love that too. Just okay, what all can we fit in here for fun, or not even just fit in, but what's one thing that you're not going to do elsewhere? Wake up whenever you have to and do it. That's cool.
yeah. I mean, in terms of paragliding, I highly recommend it. I think I was nervous with the heights and stuff, but I know I couldn't jump off with something, but the running,
No.
run on a mountain, right? And then all of a sudden you're just in the air. So it feels like there's not a lot of pressure of like, making this big leap or
Yeah.
some other stuff would be.
I wonder how often they get people who just stop running, they, like freak out, and yeah.
I think it's why they like kept saying you have to keep running, you have to keep running. Because if a heat takes off and like trips over you, like that could be bad. Um, but yeah, and so then once you start running, you're just like, okay, I just have to keep running. I know how to run.
Yeah, and then you also mentioned the weather conditions. So what kind of weather conditions are they looking for?
I mean, certainly not rainy or cloudy or thundery. But I think the wind has to be pretty good. I mean, you're up in the mountains, and so there's already going to be, I think, enough draft. Like if it wasn't windy, I think you could still get enough air to like have a decent ride on your way down. We just lucked out that there were like some gusts that we could play with, but I imagine really windy would not work. It just worked out. It just was like a beautiful sunny day, and the next day was not, and so it was just like the timing.
It's kind of a don't know if it's going to happen or not. Show up. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What is something that people who have never been paragliding, like, what's a misconception? What might they not realize?
I think that you'd maybe have to be like trained or whatever to go, right? Or like sit through some long, I don't know, I think about like skydiving. I feel like you probably do like an hour of like, here's how to do the stuff. And then just that, well, one, I mean, to be a paraglider, like these guys have done massive trainings. They're up all of the time to be able to like go tandem. They have to go through a lot to take someone with you. So you feel really safe that they have spent hours and hours and hours in the air. So that part feels safe. And then I think it's just like, it's the different kinds of height fear. So like if you, I don't know, to me, I was just like, I didn't know if I would enjoy it or if I would be afraid once I was in the air. And I just was not at all. It just felt so peaceful.
That was kind of another question I was just about to ask. Since you mentioned you're afraid of heights, and I think a lot of people are, but might still want to push themselves to do something like paragliding. So, what is some advice you would give them?
Yeah. I mean, I think my husband has like helped a lot. He was like a mountain climber. And so he trusts the equipment really well. and he trusts like the mountain more so over like his own feet. Like, whereas I'm like, I would rather be standing on a mountain on like a metal rod that's like really in there. And he's like, I would rather my feet on the mountain and know that like I'm in control. And I'm like, that's not really me. But he has taught me to and to test and to know that like a carabiner can't actually hold you when, and like sort of, I think it's like that piece that has gotten me to really feel a lot more comfortable doing some of this stuff is just
Mhm.
like testing the equipment that is like designed to keep you safe. Now obviously things happen, but it's really
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, that is good. I mean, people are doing it all the time. The people you mentioned you went with are
Yeah,
constantly
they
going
were
up there.
all so excited that it was a great day and they were just like, and I, couldn't wait to go back and fly back up and I think it's just fun to have that energy too of like they love like this is their mine is the guy that we like who took us there like my my priest, this is his hobby, it is not his like we and then we gave them tips and they were like unsure, they didn't understand why we were giving them money, and it's like because we're used to the US like tipping for that type of service of like you kept me alive, here is some sweet.
Oh, it's such a fun hobby. I'm just imagining like the lifestyle of paragliding for fun on the weekends or
I
after
know
work.
it's one of those things, it's like it's a big one, it's like it's expensive, right? To like buy all this stuff and go through all the training. But then
Mhm.
to have a hobby that you love so much and be so like it all be based on the weather and like conditions. And then you need to have that lifestyle to where it'd be like, it's a good day, I'm going surfing. It's a good day, I'm going
Yeah.
paddling. Like I don't care. Meetings can like be moved, like whatever. So there's got to be some. I think it is a personality that can like do that. I I'm a little more structured to have like
Yeah. Yeah. How fun. What is something that you wish you knew before you went?
I think that if I had been prepared of like how we were getting up to the place, maybe I wouldn't have been so scared. But that
I see.
was like weird. But no, I mean, I think it was just one of those like you just sort of go with the flow and you are just like, okay, this is what it is going to be. I wish I would have brought something to hold my phone to be able to film.
Oh, yeah.
I typically like have like a wristband for my phone that like I can use for things like this, and I couldn't find it. And it was fine because our guide took tons of photos of us in the air, and then they had gone up later that day and had footage, and so he shared that with me of like the town and stuff. But that was, I like documenting that stuff, and so one, you want to live in the moment, which I did, and so it was great but I also still had like the fact that he was making sure that like we have the footage of us taking off and of us flying and
Mhm.
type of thing. But if you really want to make sure you're documenting it somehow.
Yeah, that's really nice of him and a really important thing to think about if you want to remember those memories.
I mean, he made a reel and like tagged us in it, so it was it's good for
Oh,
to do all of this. But
yeah.
I don't have the best memory. Before we got on, I like went back through my story highlights to like remember the whole day, and so yeah, I'm glad that like I have that documented.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I had never even thought about how you could be queasy up there, and that is one of my biggest fears or uncomfortable feelings, especially being a situation where it's like, what happens if I get sick? And I never thought about that.
I mean, you're in the air, it'll dissipate. I think you just like wait
Let it
till
go.
it's normal. So I mean, maybe it is then like you take like a Dramamine like for the because I think
Mhm.
my husband gets really bad headaches, and so I was like he wasn't going to enjoy it at all. Once
Yeah.
when we did the drive and we get up there and they're like, you're gonna be queasy, and it's like, oh no, but he was fine. He just unfortunately was too heavy, like the two of them, and he went down quicker. I mean, he still got it done.
Mhm.
So maybe just like preparing to and taking something in advance could be good.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And it's one of those things like, so you're uncomfortable for 30 minutes, like you've still had this adventure.
Yeah. That's such a good way to look at it too. Put yourself out of your comfort zone and a lot of times it ends up being worth it.
Yeah.
Is this something you would do again?
Oh yeah, I would. I mean, I think there's lots of things and it depends, we again, you want to be in like the right place to do it. I don't think just like I live in DC, like I don't think like hang gliding around or paragliding around DC would be like exciting. I mean, one, you'd have to find a mountain and then the conditions and
Mhm.
all that. But um being able to do it in a place where you're very unfamiliar with the terrain and stuff, so that like what you're looking out into is just like feels so new and foreign and exciting and cute and quaint and it's so I think it's like finding like the right place with the right views and all the conditions, but absolutely
Mhm.
again in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Do you have any other stories from that day that you wanna share?
I mean, a lot of it was just the conversations I had with him, which was just like fascinating. Also, just to like, Slovakia is a very small country, and just how well aware they are of geopolitical stuff happening, in wanting to have those conversations.
Mhm.
I always find sort of like fascinating when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, I think in general, like that trip, right? We planned it around going to see Taylor Swift in Poland because it was where we could get to
Yeah.
and a lot of people would just stay in the big cities, right? We flew into Vienna, we went to Budapest, maybe someone would have gone to Prague and then just gone to Warsaw. And like for me, we knew like when we go places like we want to rent a car, we want to like get out into the countryside, we want to go into like the mountains or whatever it is, actually experience what the country is like. And so being able to do that and then we were staying in the High Tatras mountain range, beautiful resort. So thank you, Chase Points. If you are a traveler, make sure you're ranking those up. But the drive back just like into the mountains because when we left, it was so early in the morning and it was foggy. And the drive back is just like the whole mountain range opened up and it was just like gorgeous. And it's just those experiences that like you don't get if you're just sort of
Mhm.
like going from big city to big city in Europe.
Yeah, definitely. So you travel a lot. You do a lot of, like you mentioned, getting the car, doing more adventurous stuff, really experiencing where you're at. How has that changed your mindset? And like how when you go back home,
Yeah.
how does that affect your day-to-day life?
You're definitely, like, more open-minded, right? There's not this,
Mhm.
like you when you travel more and you see the world, you become, like, more flexible, you're not so set in your ways, but, like, also you're like, "Yes, our country is not just, like, the greatest in the world, and there's, like, so many other great places to explore," and, like, just finding ways to, like, get out of your comfort zone or, like, when you're walking down the street, like, just turn a different direction to, like, get home, just, like, experience something different or, like, don't just, like it helps you to just not do, like, the same thing that you're, like, comfortable with. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just think there's, like, the open-mindedness of there's so much more out there and to that and that doesn't mean we're better, they're better, or anything like that. Like, it's just everyone has something every place has something to offer. Then last time we went to this, like, really delicious Ghanaian restaurant that, like, you wouldn't just normally go to, right? I think you just, like you wanna experience and try different things than maybe just sort of, like, being in your, like, little comfort zone of, like, living in a city, like, can be very easy to stay within, like, a 4-block radius, you know?
Yeah, just stay within your comfort zone. Like, this is so much about what the goal is about, and so I'm so happy to have you here. Since this is the goal list, what is at the top of your own goal list right now?
I'm not a big goal setter when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think I'm very much a, like, make every opportunity, like, something really cool.
Yeah.
Really, my goal is just more, like, making sure that I am living life to the fullest type thing, and so when there are opportunities to, like, jump at them, so it's not like, I was just watching I so it varies every day, right? I was just watching went through the Drake Passage to Antarctica, and I'm like, "Okay, now that's at the top of the list." But, like, is it like, there's so many places.
Yeah, yeah.
We have our places that, like, we really wanna get to, but at the same
Mhm.
time, when we go, we do, like, more big trips, so we really, like, put a lot into it. So it's not like every year we're doing, like, 5 places and I'm knocking off, like, 70 countries or something. So I have to, like, understand how we wanna travel, what makes sense, and then pick and choose sort of, like, where those places are that we wanna go and then what we wanna do when we're there versus I know a lot of people are like, "I wanna hit 7 continents," or, "I wanna do these type of, like, adventure-y things or business goals or whatever." when we decide on a place, then I find the goals. And then it's like, okay, what are our goals of that trip and what are our goals of that? And then I sort of like plan that way.
Yeah, I love that too. It's kind of changing as you're changing and flexible.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Do you have any other words of wisdom for people who really want to paraglide or even just travel in that adventurous way and do something new when they go somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like, Instagram is such an amazing place. Like whenever I travel, I immediately am looking up like reels in that, those locations, and just because, there's always like the top 5 things to do or the top 10 places. You see a pretty place and you're like, "Oh, what can I do in that pretty place? And where can I push my boundaries and my limits and really explore that place in a way that like you wouldn't normally think about?" And that's what I think is like just really fun. So I think whether it's paragliding, and paragliding is very cool. Now I want to do like hang gliding. I want to do like all of the motorized one where you're like, it sort of like takes you around. There's so many different ways
Yeah.
of flying through the air with a parachute. And I want to like show them all.
Yeah. Yeah. There are so many different I get confused between all of them too sometimes. Yeah, there's a lot.
I think,
Um,
because you're not attached to like, it's not like parasailing where you're like attached to a boat. And then uh, hang gliding, I don't know if you can do like tandem or not because I feel like you're maybe like laying flat or something. I don't know.
oh yeah.
But yeah, now I'm just like, what else is there that you can do without going through a lot of training? Because I also don't want to spend all day preparing for a 15-minute experience either.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience? I know you have your own business. You want to share that or anything else?
Yeah, so I own my own brand and marketing business. I call myself a marketing mixologist. I do a lot of helping small business owners craft their real like signature brand. I do a lot with AI. I have like a deck of cards with a creative AI prompts on them to help you like mix up your content. But it's fun. I'm a human design generator. I bring like everything needs to have joy for me. And so everything I do is about just like making things more fun. And so I sort of bring that business and that energy into my business. But yeah, you can follow me at District Brand Bar on Instagram. That's my business. And then it will link over to my personal account where there's some paragliding videos on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I need to see those.
I was like,
Oh, cool. I love that. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. I'm
yeah, I love this is a fun conversation for sure. I love what you're doing. Knocking off all these goals and just getting people to think differently about like how they live their life and like this stuff, right? Like you can put it on a list and think about it, but like it's just there is easy ways to like have a lot more like fulfilled life. And right, like I didn't set out to like go speak on a podcast about paragliding. I just try and make sure that like we're doing things that enrich our lives and make it more fun. And yeah, so I think it's great what you're doing.
definitely, yeah. I just getting people to talk about how they're living their lives, thinking outside of the box, just inspiring. And if I can connect people with other people, I'd love to do that too. So yeah, this was very like I want to travel and do some adventures now. I'm ready.
I love-
Thank-
Yes.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.